Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. So this is what if Banished Naruto had all lantern rings. This is part 1, and if you want more then please leave a like, share and subscribe. Let's get in the video. I am Daud Sal, Green Lantern of Sector 849. I am recording my thoughts so that my story will be saved in the Book of Oa should I. No. I refuse to die. I am a Green Lantern. And I will fulfill my duty. I will not become one of them. For years I guarded my sector with pride, bringing justice and order to the sentient beings that live there. I heeded Lantern Kilowog's training, and it never failed me. I followed the laws of the Book of Oa, the wisdom of the guardians of the universe, and so the green light kept peace in Sector 849. That was before the advent of the other lights. First there was the Sinestro Corps, servants of the renegade Green Lantern, and wielders of the yellow impurity. Wielders of fear. They were us, but killers. Our opposites. What we were not, they were. Half my sector fell on that first war. My home would have fallen too, if not for the guardians unveiling the first law of 10. Our rings, previously unable to kill, were now authorized to use lethal force against the Sinestros. I was one of the many who did not question the new law. I am not ashamed to say I felt satisfied each time my constructs felled a soldier of fear. When each yellow ring spoke ring status report. Sinestro deceased. Sector scan annotated for replacement sentient, a wave of gleeful emotion swept over me. Emotion. That's what all of this is about, isn't it? In the beginning, the Guardians discovered that sentient life also gave birth to an entire spectrum of emotions, manifested as the different composite colors in a beam of visible light. They chose to harness the balance within the spectrum, the green light of willpower, to become the weapon for their new core. For untold millennia did the Green Lantern Corps uphold the oath to the Guardians, to police the universe and bring peace. The other colors and emotions of the spectrum remained unknown to the Corps and even the rest of the universe. That is, until the rise of the Sinestro Corps. But the power of fear discovered, and the universe suddenly assailed by warriors with yellow rings, knowledge of the spectrum became far too common. Almost instantly, more Corps appeared from the far reaches of the universe, each of them wielding a different light. I thought the Sinestros were ruthless, but even they paled against the atrocious, murderous rage of the Red Lanterns. Once again, we were at war. The Guardians tasked us to quell any new surges of emotion, both within ourselves and out in the universe. Why, we did not truly know at the time. What began with the cyber Galpha lanterns within our core became a grand crusade against emotion throughout the cosmos. Regardless, our efforts were for naught, for soon, the rest of the spectrum came to be revealed. The orange light of greed, the blue light of hope, the indigo light of compassion, and the violet light of love, all too soon they also had their own core. One would think that the Guardians would ask to ally with at least the blues or the indigos. Instead, they are considered minor nuisances at best, equal enemies at worst. Too soon, we were all at war. Entire sectors fell in a matter of days. I own 849, did so only a few cycles ago. Even my home is dead, my family claimed by the light. Which color it was, I do not know. Right now I do not even care. Because right now my family is my enemy. In death, they are now ringwielders themselves, claimed by the black. I do not think that even the Guardians themselves suspected it. I had heard the rumors. A lost prophecy, a forbidden chapter in the Book of Oa, spoken to former Green Lantern Abin Sur of Sector 2814. It was the final chapter in the tales of the Green Lantern Corps. Our end. Only the title of the chapter gave the slightest hint about our new enemy. The Blackest Night. If emotion, or rather, if life itself manifested through the presence of light, then the absence of light and emotion was death. No one could have thought that death too had power. When the war of light reached its apex and the skies grew bright, a wave of dark nothingness swept over all, devouring light and life. Only the dead remained. And now the dead rise, and the dead come in an innumerable legion. They too wield rings of their own, their black auras manifesting as mighty hands. To say they are a wave of terror is rather inaccurate, especially since now there is thought of Green Lanterns allying with the Sinestros to combat the dead. Instead, the dead are simply that, dead, lacking any emotion. They are now known as the Black Lantern Corps, and they seek to consume us all. My sector partner has already joined the dead. But even in death he fights on, this time on the side of the Black Tide. My family too has joined the dead. Just now I watched as my son crushed a red lantern while I encased my wife in a cage. An indigo warrior rushes in to try and redeem her, only to have her staff stolen by Agent Orange himself. All around me, the order that we Green Lanterns have striven to maintain collapses into a cacophony of chaos. My former partner sees me and approaches. I see him too, and emotion wells up in me. The Guardians would castigate me for feeling, but against the emotionless dead, I feel emotions, whichever one it is, are the ultimate defiance against the tide. I am Daud Sal, Green Lantern of Sector 849. I will fulfill my oath. Ring status report. Green Lantern Daud Sal of Sector 849 deceased. Sector scan for replacement sentient initiated. No viable candidates detected in sector. Fail-safe protocol engaged. Returning to OA. Warning. Orange lantern in pursuit. Begin evasive action. You do not have the ability to overcome great fear. You have not been chosen. Warning. Yellow and violet energy detected. Warning. Black energy detected. Emergency. Universal barrier breached. Entering the bleed. Coordinates lost. Contact with central power battery lost. Contact with lantern mogul lost. Contact with O lost. Exit from bleed confirmed. Unable to identify universe out of the 52. Attempting to re-establish contact with OA. Warning. Partial memory core corruption. Fatal error. Contact with OA failed. Initiate emergency protocols. Coordinates confirmed. Closest planet identified as equivalent of Lantern Hal Jordans of Sector 2814. Sector scan initiated for emergency replacement. Candidate sentient confirmed. Subject has the willpower to overcome great fear. Target sentient chosen. MW. Mwah. Just as Lil Mo Naruto mumbled as a beam of sunlight found its way directly into his face. He turned in his sleep, his face landing straight in the puddle of drool he'd soaked the pillow with. He shivered and turned again. Your lips are too wet, Sakura-chan, he mouthed. He turned again, once more directly into the sunlight. Now half awake, Naruto opened one eye midway and clumsily searched for the alarm clock on his nightstand. Several used cups of ramen, dirty laundry, and the clock itself were fumbled to the ground before he was able to get a somewhat decent look at the time. 11:38. He yelled, suddenly very awake. Iruka-sensei's treating me to ramen at noon. Naruto jumped out of his bed, only to immediately trip on the same cups and clothes that he'd thrown moments before. His head narrowly missed the bed's border and instead crashed, along with the rest of him, hard on the floor. He mumbled as a lump formed on the back of his skull. He took a look around his room as he sat up and massaged his bruise. I really should have cleaned this pigsty yesterday. Or the day before. Or the one before that. He continued. He stood up resolutely. Right. No more excuses. This gets cleaned today. He resolved. Thinking a bit, he added. After ramen. And training. And dinner. But today it is. As quickly as he could, Naruto dug out his usual clothes, changed, and dashed towards Ichiraku Ramen, the accustomed lunch spot for when he and Iruka ate together. Finding the streets too crowded for him to be at his fastest, he jumped up to the rooftops of the hidden village of the Leaf. Some of the crowd below eyed him with curiosity, others with a slight envy of his ninja skills, but many of the random passers-by eyed him with a scorn that still stung him. Naruto did not notice these last ones much, or at least he pretended not to, and instead hastened his pace towards the small ramen bar. You're late, Naruto. Iruka yelled at him the moment Ichiraku came into view. Naruto almost tripped when he made a desperate final dash to land in front of his first teacher. Ah, sorry, Iruka-sensei. He said, rubbing the back of his head apologetically. Just for that, you're paying today. Naruto gawked. No fair, sensei. I still haven't recovered from loaning Iro-senin so much money during the training. He complained, pulling out his frog wallet and opening it to show Iruka its few contents. Hey, calm down. I was only joking, Iruka countered. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief, grinned, and joined the older ninja inside the small shop. Welcome. Old man Tucci said, his back towards Naruto and Iruka as he prepared a batch of ingredients. He turned and immediately recognized two of his most loyal customers, doing so without even having to open his eyes. Oh, hello, Naruto-kun, Iruka-san. Naruto and Iruka didn't have to order their lunch. Since they frequented Ichiraku so often, Tucci knew exactly what they wanted to eat and was quick to prepare 2 bowls of steamy ramen. Naruto was even quicker in finishing his bowl and ordering a second. No matter how many times we've eaten here, you still surprise me, Naruto, Iruka said, quickly glancing at his wallet pocket worryingly. I can't help it. Kakashi-sensei will be out of the hospital soon and he's promised to train me in making my own technique. An original technique? Iruka asked, genuinely surprised. Already? Yeah. Naruto answered in between gulping down ramen strands. He says I could become stronger than him, too. Iruka said nothing while Naruto ate the last of the pork ramen and started drinking the sauce. It had finally happened, he thought to himself. Just getting such an offer from Kakashi confirmed to Iruka that Naruto had surpassed him. Iruka smiled, happily noting that he didn't feel a single pang of jealousy towards his former pupil and instead was filled with pride. You've come so far, Naruto. Naruto stopped drinking and slowly lowered the bowl back to the table. His smile was gone, replaced with somber frown. Not far enough. I couldn't save Sasuke. Iruka hesitated, unsure how to react to the sudden reversal. Naruto. 3 years, Naruto began, almost 3 years I trained non-stop with Iro-senin, all to become strong enough to bring Sasuke back. I even promised Sakura-chan I'd beat the pulp out of him and drag him back if I had to. He hit his fists on the table, which startled Iruka and Tucci and almost toppled the ramen bowl. But when we found him during the last mission, I couldn't do anything. He just toyed with us as if we were nothing. After a moment of silence, he finished. Is he gone for good? Even if I keep trying, will I even be able to bring him back? Iruka thought long and hard to try and find an answer. It had been years since he had seen Naruto in such a mood. It wasn't like him at all, and it didn't suit him. You brought back Gaara, I mean, Kazekage-sama, didn't you? Iruka finally asked back. You saved him from himself first, and then from Akatsuki. Even on your first mission, you got through to Haku and Zabuza, which for any other ninja would have been impossible. By then Naruto was looking back at Iruka, taking in every word. Iruka patted Naruto's back and said. You'll reach Sasuke. I know you will. And you will bring him back one way or the other. Naruto's frown slowly turned into a smile that matched Iruka's encouraging one. Naruto nodded resolutely and said. Thanks, Iruka-sensei. After thanking Iruka and Teuchi for the meal, Naruto headed to the training grounds. If Kakashi was going to train him for a new technique, he thought, he had to make certain he was prepared for whatever the Jounin had in mind. Boy. Naruto Naichin. Watch this. Naruto glanced to his side and just caught sight of Konohamaru running up a tree. Each step went past a cut on the bark, but before reaching the highest mark, Konohamaru misstepped and fell off. Naruto rushed to try and catch him, but Mogi and Yuden reached him first. You've been at this since morning, Konohamaru-kun, Yuden said, his nose dripping a large booger as always, Naruto thought with some disgust. Maybe you should stop for. No way. Konohamaru shot back. He quickly stood up and ran at and up the tree again, this time reaching just short of his last attempt. Why are you trying to learn tree climbing anyway? Naruto asked Konohamaru as he held out his hand to help the other up. Ebisu-sensei's chakra control training, Mogi answered for him. He was teaching us a simpler method, but Konohamaru here wanted something faster. So then the closet pervert came up with tree climbing. Yeah, Konohamaru said. But he didn't say it would be so tough. All he said was that I had to balance my chakra right. Ha. Reminds me of when Kakashi-sensei made me do the same thing. Naruto wondered out loud. Really? Konohamaru jumped. How'd you do it, huh? How long did it take you? Any tips you can share? Boy, slow down. Naruto held back Konohamaru before the younger genin jumped him with his enthusiasm. Why do you want to learn chakra control so fast anyway? He asked further. At this, Konohamaru grinned at him. I already told you, Naruto Naichin. I'll be the 7th Hokage someday, so I'm gonna train until I surpass even you. At this, Naruto grinned. So Konohamaru still considered him his rival, he thought. He certainly had grown and was learning more than just perverted jutsus. To Naruto, Konohamaru was a 3-year younger version of himself. So that's how it is, huh? He said. Okay. Listen up, then. I'm going to teach you the right way to do tree climbing. A few minutes later, Naruto was walking up and down the tree while Konohamaru, Mogi and Yuden watched excitedly but attentively. You got all that. It's not all about guts and who's got the most chakra. Relax, gather your chakra to your feet and focus on the tree. Find the right balance. Too much will crush the bark, but too little and you won't stick. HN. The younger ninjas nodded. And don't give up. It can take a long time until you can walk on the tree, but after a few days you'll be able to run up alright. A few days. Konohamaru said. He then gave Naruto a wide smirk and added. You shouldn't look down on me, Naruto Naichin. I'll show you what a Sarutobi can do. Curious, Naruto stopped walking and jumped down from the tree, while Konohamaru took a deep breath, performed some seals, and began gathering his chakra. Just as Naruto had told him, he was being calm and careful about the process, making sure to balance the chakra correctly. For a brief moment, Naruto wondered if Konohamaru really would be able to climb the tree in just a few more tries. Luckily for Naruto's pride, Konohamaru's suddenly growling stomach interrupted his concentration. Naruto, Mogi and Yuden could not help but laugh. I told you we should have eaten lunch sooner. Mogi joked. I don't have time for eating. Konohamaru retorted. I want to learn this new technique as soon as I can. You can't generate proper chakra with an empty stomach, Naruto explained. No wonder you were starting to have trouble climbing. But, just take an hour break and get some lunch. You'll do much better after that, I promise. Konohamaru looked pensive for a few seconds, then suddenly showed a wicked grin. Ha, so you're buying, Naichin. Naruto's optimistic mood instantly reversed. Huh? I never said. Okay. Konohamaru interrupted. It's settled. Naruto-sensei is buying us all lunch. Not waiting for Naruto's reply, Konohamaru turned and began marching off. Mogi and Yuden followed closely. But I already had. It's so nice of Naruto-sensei to take us out like this, Yuden said, ignoring Naruto's complaint. I'm almost broke, I can't just. Hooray for Naruto-sensei. I'm going to eat double portions today. But. Naruto stuttered after Mogi's cries. Again he opened his frog wallet, this time mournfully counting the little money he was about to lose. It was no use to keep complaining. Skulking, he slowly followed his unofficial students. Trying not to think about being broke, Naruto headed once again to the training grounds, eager to continue his own training. This time he had no interruptions, and soon he reached the usual spot where he and Sakura trained. It was the same place where they had defeated Kakashi right after his return to Konoha. The same place where he, Sakura and Sasuke had become genin. Memories began to come back from the past of the final test Kakashi had given them. Though they could not get the bells then, the first signs of a true team emerged on that day when Sakura and even Sasuke offered to share their lunch with him against Kakashi's instructions. The missions after that were no different. Despite Sasuke still being an arrogant bastard at times, he, Sakura and Naruto were truly becoming more than just a close team of ninjas. They were becoming friends. Family. But then Sasuke had to toss it all away to follow his vengeance before Team 7 had barely begun. Sasuke Naruto wondered. What are you up to? Are you really willing to become Orochimaru's next body? He walked towards the middle of the 3 logs in the grounds, the same one where he had been tied up to. You'd really toss us all away, even yourself, just to get to Itachi. He then punched the log. You idiot. We would have helped if you asked. You finally made it, Naruto. A voice called out to him. Jumping slightly from the surprise, Naruto turned. He was pleasantly surprised to find Sakura coming out of the forest and into the clearing. He was also not so pleasantly surprised to find Team 7's new member, Sai, with her. She raised her arm in greeting to Naruto, while Sai gave him a weak smile. It looked a bit forced, maybe fake, but knowing Sai it meant he was practicing on his absolute lack of social skills, Naruto thought. Sakura-chan. Sai. What are you doing here? Isn't it obvious? She asked back. Sai thought training together would help us get together as a team and especially help you with your upcoming training with Kakashi-sensei. Huh? Sai. It was your idea? Naruto asked the new recruit, puzzled. Yes, Sai answered quickly. I read in a book that supporting your comrades in their likes is important in establishing friendship. Naruto had to admit, Sai was really putting effort into becoming normal. Heh, Sai, you're a quick study. You know, you can support us next time by treating us to ramen. Don't take advantage of him, Naruto. Sakura scolded him, putting on her usual scary face that Naruto had learned to fear. She then turned to Sai, changing her expression instantly to one a lot friendlier. It's alright, Sai. Inviting people to lunch or dinner is only if you want to or if someone genuinely can't pay. Naruto was only joking. Ah, I see, Sai said, committing the fact to memory. In that case, allow me to invite both of you after our training today is complete. How nice of him, Naruto thought to himself. But not to ramen. The high salt content may be why you have such a small penis, Naruto-kun. Immediately, Sakura blushed and Naruto fumed. What the hell, Sai? The latter yelled. You ass. And here I was thinking you were making an effort to being friends with us. Sai raised his hands in defense. But I thought making jokes helped remove barriers and help establish friendship. You don't joke about that kind of stuff. Naruto kept on ranting. By now Sakura was giggling, mildly amused by the sight of the two. Naruto. You're being almost like you were with Sasuke sometimes, she whispered to herself. I'm sorry. Sai recanted, waving his hands and head sideways in his defense. It is not really like that at all. Yours is about the same size as mine. Here, let me show you, he finished, making a move to unzip his own pants. This time, it was Sakura who reacted first. Before Sai could continue, Sakura clobbered him over the head and sent him sprawling. Don't do that kind of perverted stuff in front of a lady. You really asked for it, Sai. Naruto said carefully, sweat dropping. Lady? Where? Was Sai's response as he massaged a growing bump on his head. Naruto immediately jumped on Sakura before she could clobber Sai again. Damn it, Sai, you're really gonna kill us both. He said, struggling in vain to keep Sakura at bay. Shanro. Despite Sakura's outburst, Team Kakashi was able to train for some time. For the first time since joining, Sai was fully focused on working in tandem with Sakura and Naruto, with excellent results. One of the exercises in particular, in which Sai had to search and find the other two ninjas, was very effective in improving Naruto and Sakura's stealth techniques, given Sai's ink jutsus. It was hard at first realizing that he could scout them out with small ink animals that almost seamlessly blended into the environment. Repeat attempts improved their stealth, as well as detecting the difference between the real wildlife and painted animals. In the final attempt Naruto was finally able to avoid detection and ambush Sai instead. You've improved, Sai told Naruto. Heh. So have you, he answered back. That should do it for today, Sakura said, referring to the quickly darkening sky. Right. Dinner time. Sai's treat. Naruto quickly added. Sakura scowled. Didn't I tell you not to press him on that, Naruto? She said glaring at him. It's fine, Sakura, Sai said. I don't mind paying for the both of you, especially since Naruto has no money left. Huh? Both Sakura and Naruto reacted. How do you? I was practicing my detailed detection skills, such as when trying to pick a guard's pocket. Your wallet is completely empty, Sai explained. You're broke. How come? Sakura asked him. Well, Naruto stuttered. It was embarrassing to have to admit it. I had to buy lunch for Konohamaru's team after, helping them with tree climbing. You did? Sakura asked. That's really nice of you, Naruto-sensei, she added, smiling playfully. Aw, drop it, Sakura-chan, Naruto scowled, blushing slightly. Konohamaru called me the same thing today. It's out of respect and admiration, Naruto, Sai interjected. I read in another book that good teachers reward their students when they do well, and students likewise look up to their teachers. So, Sai, tonight you and I will treat Naruto. You mean that? Thanks, Sakura-chan. Naruto said, his mood swinging yet again. Come, then, Sai suggested. I know a good location where they serve nutritious meals, perfect after a long training session. You guys go ahead, I'll meet up in a second, Naruto asked them. Is something wrong? Sakura asked him. I'm fine, he answered, there's just one thing I need to check. I'll be right over. He added, heading once again to the 3 logs. Don't take too long, Sakura called back. She and Sai then headed into the forest and back into the village. Naruto stood in front of the middle log again. Thoughts about the past again came back to him. Unlike before, these were thoughts about the good times. Sasuke almost dying to protect him from Haku, Sasuke protecting Sakura from a Madangara, Sasuke also wanting to fight him during the Chunin exams. Naruto thought about how he wanted those times to repeat themselves again. For a moment, he remembered his 2 failed attempts to bring Sasuke back, first alone, and then with Sakura, Sai and Yamato. Pushing those thoughts aside, he focused on the present. The day's training had gone quite well. Sai could not replace Sasuke, but he was genuinely becoming a new ally and friend. Plus, soon Kakashi would help him learn a completely new jutsu unique to him, one that would help him catch up to Sasuke. Naruto looked up at the heavens. He would not give up. Team 7 would not give up. Just you wait. I'll bring you back, Sasuke, Naruto said at the stars. Until you're back in Konoha, I'll never stop reaching for you. Because. He raised his hand up to the sky, that's my ninja way. Emotional resonance confirmed. Naruto whirled around and scanned the area, startled by the suddenness of the unexpected sound. Who's there? He yelled. His only reply was the chirping of a cricket and the rustling of leaves in the wind. Sentient located. Naruto again turned, this time taking a kunai out of his pouch. To his right, he saw a faint light illuminating a small bush from the inside. He swiftly threw the kunai at the source, the blade digging straight into the plant. In response, the light itself moved and darted out from the bush. A glowing ball of green light emerged and flew erratically. Just a bug. Pretty fat. He wondered out loud. It's not like Shino to play jokes, so what was that voice? He glanced curiously at the light ball. Was it this? He asked himself, taking a few tentative steps forward. The large green firefly kept still in the air, too still for an insect. Upon closer inspection, Naruto found it had no wings to speak of and no body on top of that. For a second, he thought it was a ghost. But then the light sparked and sped towards him. Before he could react, it settled itself cleanly in his middle finger. The bright green light suddenly enveloped him and a voice echoed into his thoughts. Uzumaki Naruto of the planet Earth. You have the ability to overcome great fear. MW. Mwah. Just as Lil Mo Naruto mumbled as a beam of sunlight found its way directly into his face. He turned in his sleep, his face landing straight in the puddle of drool he'd soaked the pillow with. He shivered and turned again. Your lips are too wet, Sakura-chan, he mouthed. He turned again, once more directly into the sunlight. This time, Naruto couldn't go back to sleep. He yawned groggily and looked around him. He saw that he was back in his room, wearing his usual pajamas, and all around him the mess remained. As his brain slowly came to, he scratched his head unnervingly. How did I get here? Wasn't I in the training grounds just now? His thoughts came to a halt when his hair got stuck on something on his right hand and was pulled hard. Ow! He yelled, reaching back instinctively and ripping out the tangled hair. Why me? He said out loud to nobody in particular while massaging the hurting spot on his skull with his left hand. And what pulled? Huh? He said, finding that the ripped hairs were tangled up with a strange-looking green ring in his middle finger. The head of the ring was round and inside was an inscribed inner circle and 2 horizontal bars on the top and bottom of the inner one. The design looked like some kind of lantern. While the side of the ring didn't answer the question of how he got back to his place from the previous day, it at least brought back the last thing he saw. Oh yeah. That green talking firefly last night. It said something about me fearless. He stared at the ring some more. Does that have something to do with this ring? He asked, clueless. He crossed his arms and closed his eyes, deep in thought trying to figure out more about the ring. Nothing came up. The loud rumble coming from his stomach snapped him out of concentration. "Oh, right," he said, clutching his belly, "I didn't get to eat dinner last night. Damn it, and Sakura-chan was treating too, I'll have to say sorry later." Naruto quickly got out of bed and hastily prepared himself a toast. "That hit the spot," he said after a few bites. "Now, to settle it down with some." The glass he had just grabbed was empty. "I forgot the milk again. Did I even buy it last time?" He quickly got up and checked the fridge again, finding only water for drinking. Dejected, he took another empty glass from his cabinet, filled it, and sat back down to eat. And then he saw that the empty glass at the table was now filled with milk. "An intruder!" he exclaimed, quickly dashing to the nearby sink and grabbing a dull knife. His senses quickly scanned the apartment for a few seconds, searching for any sign of an uninvited guest. All he detected was the same dirty laundry, discarded garbage, and empty ramen cups he neglected to clean up in the past few days. Warily, without a word, he grabbed the glass with milk and smelled it. "Doesn't seem poisoned," he mused. Taking one last glance around and finding nothing, he took a sip. When he didn't pass out or die, he shrugged, sat back down and gulped the rest of the glass. "Okay, cleaning time now," he solemnly declared, closing his eyes for emphasis. "No ands, ifs or buts. I'm going to take out the trash, do laundry, and clean the dishes. This pigsty will get cleaned up," he added, pumping his fists resolutely. He stopped for a moment and added absent-mindedly. "At least, when I finish training and after lunch, and..." He stopped when a faint green glow caught his attention. He quickly opened his eyes and was stunned when he noticed that the mess was no longer there. The empty ramen cups were tossed to the trash, which was in turn bagged and ready to be thrown out. The laundry was clean and tidy, and the dishes were washed and stowed. The cold sweat ran down his face, and a chill crept up the length of his spine. "Yeah. My house is haunted," he yelled, unceremoniously jumping out of his window as fast as he could. He never got the chance to hear his neighbor complain about someone stealing his milk or blaming him for the event after hearing his scream. He dashed away from his house haphazardly and absently, without any idea of where to go, as long as it was away from the haunting. He raced and ran, jumped and crawled, not stopping for anyone or anything in his way. He kept running until even the QB's stamina was not enough to let him keep going. At long last, he stopped, bent down and breathed heavily. "What the heck was that?" he gasped. "Boy. Naruto Naichin." After another bout of heavy panting, Naruto glanced up to see Konohamaru, standing upside down the branch of the same tree he was trying to climb the day before. "Are you alright, Konohamaru?" Naruto took one last heavy breath and stood up straight. He stared at the younger genin, surprised that he'd mastered tree climbing in a single day. On two other close trees, Yuden and Mogi were making their own attempts at running up the barks, and although neither was quite reaching the target branches, they were getting up quite high. "So what do you think, Naichin?" Konohamaru asked Naruto, grinning evilly. "I told you not to underestimate a Sarutobi." You should be thanking me and my genius skills," Naruto retorted. "You'd still be stuck if I hadn't taught you how to do it right. You just can't bear to admit that your greatest rival is catching up to you," Konohamaru shot back. "I'll surpass you soon if you keep sleeping off training." Naruto grunted while the boy laughed at his expense. When he stopped, he added with a slightly more serious tone. "Why are you out here in your pajamas, anyway?" The blonde then remembered why he was out in the middle of the village. "Weird story. Jump back down and I'll tell you." "I'm fine here, I want to continue practicing holding my chakra just right." "No, you really should, Konohamaru," Naruto insisted. "The way you're standing right now, if your chakra isn't balanced perfectly he didn't have a chance to finish." As if on cue, Konohamaru's feet unlatched themselves from the tree branch. Gravity immediately took control, and the young genin found himself falling headfirst to the hard ground barely below. The timing for the fall could not be worse. Naruto ran towards the falling ninja, but his exhausted feet and lungs fought to disobey him. Worse yet, both Mogi and Yuden were in mid-jump back down from the tree. "Konohamaru-kun." They both yelled. Naruto knew there was not enough time for Konohamaru to turn and land upright. Only he could catch him. He ordered his legs to move faster, but they could barely comply. The back of his mind knew there was no way he could get to him in time, but the rest of him couldn't accept it. "Catch him," he thought to himself. "Catch him," he repeated over and over again. Konohamaru's head was inches from the ground. Naruto reached out with his right arm, but he was still too far. "Catch him." The shining beam of green light erupted from the ring on his middle finger and raced towards Konohamaru. Before Naruto could even register what was happening, the light itself took the shape of a large hand that grasped the falling boy before he hit the ground. Konohamaru grunted at the sudden stop. A second later, when Naruto finally realized what had just happened, the hand disappeared, letting Konohamaru drop the last inch. Mogi and Yuden rushed to their teammate, who sat against a tree and rubbed his head. Naruto stuttered. Wordlessly, he brought his right hand to his face and stared awestruck at the ring. Then Nai-chan Konohamaru also stammered. How did you? I don't know. Naruto couldn't answer beyond that. His racing thoughts, crisscrossing through little facts and rampant speculation, would not allow him to come to any conclusions. Was the light actually solid? How did the hand appear? Was it my chakra or something from the ring? What exactly is this ring, anyway? Were only some of the questions that clogged his mind. The ongoing silence only served to confuse him further, so he decided to say the next thing that came to his mind. I was thinking of catching you. And then that hand just burst out of nowhere. It came from that ring you have, Mogi said. At first it was just a beam of green light, but then it just morphed into that solid hand. Konohamaru, who had quickly recovered from the fall, stood up and approached Naruto. Eyeing the ring intently, he tapped it gently. Maybe it's some kind of chakra weapon? He asked. Naruto found that talking was indeed helping him collect his thoughts. After a few seconds he was able to answer. Maybe. I'm sure I didn't make any jutsu or use any of my own chakra. You said you were thinking of catching Konohamaru-kun when the hand appeared, Yuden began. Maybe the ring reacts to concentration. Only one way to find out, he mused. Stand back, he told the others. Once they did so, Naruto breathed deep, closed his eyes, and instinctively made the Kage Bunshin seal. Instead of gathering any chakra or executing a jutsu, he focused on resummoning the light arm. His thoughts echoed his wish repeatedly, and his mind directed them to the ring. Time passed, but he did not feel anything different. Naruto then tried ordering the ring to create the light again, but after a few seconds the only thing he felt was a slight breeze. Stiffening his muscles, he focused harder until his head ached for thinking only of summoning whatever power the ring had. Whoa. Naruto heard one of the kids say. He quickly opened his eyes and jerked his hand out to get a good view of the ring and its hand. Instead he found nothing. What was that for? He asked, frowning. The ring was starting to glow, Nai-chan. Konohamaru answered with a big smile and very open eyes. Naruto gave him a questioning look, but Yuden and Mogi's quick nodding confirmed it. Okay, let's try this again then. Naruto again breathed deep and began concentrating. He repeated the same steps as before, slowly pushing away any thoughts that did not center on using the ring again. His mind again cleared and his will focused. For an instant, he felt a slight tingle in his ring finger. There you are, Naruto. The female voice immediately cut him off his trance and brought him back. He frowned when he saw that again the ring was unchanged. Sakura-chan. He said, instantly recognizing his teammate. Unlike him, she was dressed in her usual outfit. I've been looking all over the village for you. Tsunade-sama once she stopped when she got to the group and then eyed Naruto with curiosity. Why are you in your pajamas? It's because of this ring, he answered, showing her the green ring on his finger. I woke up this morning and had it on me, and since then some weird stuff's been happening. Sakura looked back and forth between Naruto and the ring. She took Naruto's hand and examined the ring closely. It looks like just normal jewelry to me, she said. She then placed her hand on Naruto's forehead and asked. No fever, did Sai hit your head harder than we thought yesterday? He's not making it up, Sakura-san, Mogi interjected. Just now Konohamaru almost fell doing tree climbing and the ring made a green hand that caught him. You're good with chakra, Sakura-chan, Naruto said. Can you check it out? Sakura took Naruto's hand again and placed her other hand on top of the ring. After a few seconds, she said. I don't feel any chakra from it. We should ask Tsunade-sama during the briefing. Briefing? Looks like your training with Kakashi-sensei will have to wait, she said. We have a mission to do. I don't feel anything, Tsunade said. The fifth Hokage let go of Naruto's hand and stood back up straight. Are you certain that you saw a hand come out of it? Konohamaru would be in the hospital if it hadn't happened, Naruto answered. He and his teammates can tell you I'm not making this up. Very well, I'll ask Niji or Hinata to check it out after you've returned from the mission, she said, coming around her desk and standing in front of her chair. What do you want us to do, Hokage-sama? Captain Yamato asked the village leader. Tsunade hesitated for a second, sighed, and then eyed Team Kakashi intently. I want you to infiltrate the Metal Country's hidden village of steel. Yamato and Sakura shifted momentarily from their position and had to quickly recompose themselves. Even Sai twitched slightly after hearing Tsunade. Metal Country? Was Naruto's reaction. For a moment he expected to be ridiculed for his lack of knowledge, but he was surprised to find no one was looking at him strangely. It's expected, Yamato said. Even some Jounin may not know about this village. The Metal Country is incredibly isolated and closed off from the rest of the region, Sai said. It lies on an island to the south of the Fire Country. Reports say the island itself is surrounded by a sheer steel wall that completely seals off the country. To say it's secretive is an understatement, Sakura continued. Absolutely nobody enters or leaves the island, and any information about is surrounded by more rumors than facts. So why are we going in there? Naruto asked casually. Better to leave them alone if they like their privacy. For today, aside from the usual spying, that was the opinion of all the other great countries, Tsunade said. But the latest report we received last night means we have to change that policy. The Hokage's aide, Shizune, continued for her. One of our top Anbu teams was returning from a mission in the southern coast when they suddenly lost the ability to use any chakra. Were they attacked? Yamato asked. Not exactly, Shizune answered. They immediately hid expecting an enemy assault, but nothing happened. After exactly 3 minutes, they regained their ability to mold chakra. However, 1 minute after that, they again lost their chakra. This 3-minute to 1-minute cycle continued repeatedly as they investigated the cause of their situation. Based on the size of the area of the coastal cliffs where the effect was present, they found it circled an area close to 20 kilometers. But the hidden steel at its center, Sakura concluded. Precisely, Tsunade agreed. If the metal country has developed some sort of chakra dampening weapon, it is imperative that we find out what they want to do with it and how to counter it. All 4 members of Team Kakashi nodded resolutely, but while Sai, Sakura and Yamato kept serious, Naruto grinned broadly. Now that's a real mission. I'll bust that weapon up and make it scrap. Sakura hung her head and brought her hand to her forehead at Naruto's comment. Figures. This is not an assault mission, Naruto. Tsunade chastised him, standing up and raising her voice. You 4 must be discreet in gathering intelligence. If the report is true, also, your skills will be severely hampered. Proceed with utmost caution. With all due respect, Hokage-sama, Yamato began, wouldn't Team Kurenai or Team Guy be better equipped for this sort of covert mission? Tsunade sat back down and crossed her hands. If the chakra weapon does exist, there is not much Team Kurenai would be able to do once it's activated. I've asked for Team Guy to also join this task, but they're returning from the western provinces. They will join you as soon as they return, but this is an urgent matter that requires an immediate deployment. Before any of the ninjas could ask any more questions, the Hokage stood up and offered Yamato the mission details. Once he took them, Tsunade finished her briefing. You will leave Konoha in 2 hours. I expect you to reach the hidden steel tomorrow night and back here in less than a week. Understood? Yes ma'am. Team Kakashi responded in unison. Dismissed. Naruto's eyes flung wide open and his back jerked upright as he gasped and woke up with a start. Quickly scanning his surroundings, he found he was still in the clearing where he, Sakura, Sai and Captain Yamato were camping for the night on their way to the hidden steel. He let his breath shallow out and then he wiped his face, drenched with sweat, with his sleeves. He considered going back to sleep, but he knew that after the dream he'd just had that would be almost impossible. Instead he stood up quietly, making sure not to disturb the others, and headed into the forest. A short distance away he stopped, leaned against a tree, and glanced at his green ring intently. When preparing for the mission, he had considered leaving it behind and worry about its abilities later. Indeed, he'd taken it off as soon as he had started packing and stored it in a drawer. But just as he was about to leave out the door to his apartment, something on the back of his mind told him that he should take it with him. Why exactly he didn't know, but for some reason it seemed right. At the last second he turned around, got the ring from the drawer, and slipped it on as he stepped out the door and headed for the village gate. After the dream he'd just had, however, he began to question if it was a wise choice. Is something wrong, Naruto-kun? Naruto immediately spun to face the sound source. Luckily it was only Sai, because he then noticed that instead of instinctively reaching for a shuriken or kunai, for some reason he'd simply settled for pointing the ring on his closed fist at his teammate. Don't scare people like that, Naruto shot back as he lowered his arm. Sorry. I am still learning the niceties of when ninja training can be ignored. Figures. Anyway, yeah, I'm alright. Just had a weird dream, that's all. What was it about? Naruto turned his head, puzzled. Sai's attitude was completely different from when he first joined the team. Since when did you become so concerned about others? In a way, Sai's answer was expected. I read in a book. Okay, Naruto guessed. You read in a book that a good friend looks out for his comrade's well-being. Right, Sai confirmed, smiling. Did you read the same book? That's not what I meant, Naruto's sweat dropped. Anyway, it's probably nothing. You know how dreams are. Perhaps, Sai wondered, but I understand dreams are sometimes expressions of the subconscious. Is this ring you've newly acquired troubling you? You've seemed very curious about it since the meeting with the Hokage. Could be, Naruto conceded. During the trip, his mind had been wandering on and off about the ring. Sometimes he found he was falling behind the rest of the team and some other times they had to call him to catch up. There was lots of green stuff in it, but a lot of other colors too. Colors? Like I said, weird. I was nowhere, I mean literally, nowhere. It was pitch black and I was just floating in nothing, really. It was really cold, too. But then, there was a single point of light. It was faint at first, but then it just exploded. He told Sai, stretching his arms out to add emphasis. You saw an explosion, Sai concluded. Yeah, but it wasn't normal. Sure, at first it was all bright and white, but then it split into other colors. I mean, there were lots of colors. Red, blue, yellow, orange, I think purple too. Indigo, Sai corrected. What? You seem to be describing the colors of a rainbow, he explained. It's a common misconception that between blue and violet is purple, but it's actually a shade of blue called indigo. Did you read that in a book too? Naruto joked. I'm an artist, was Sai's always stoic response. Color theory is basic knowledge. Whatever. And of course lots of green too. The lights then somehow grew until there was no more darkness. And then they started fighting. For once, Sai was the one with an inquisitive look. The light was fighting. Yeah, Naruto replied, giving Sai the same look. It's as if they were just crashing into each other, trying to be the brightest. But that's not the weirdest part. After a while, the light suddenly became animals. But I mean really freaky animals, especially the red and orange ones. Whenever they got close it got so hot I thought I was gonna get cooked. Some of the others were sort of warm, pleasantly warm even. And then the green one, it was like a cross between a whale and a shark, it stopped and looked at me, as if it knew me. You were right, Naruto-kun, Sai said, it is strange. That's not the worst of it, Naruto continued. He raised his arms and crossed them around his chest. When the fighting was at its peak, the darkness came back and then it just ate the color animals. The green one was the last to go. It put up a fight, but even with all that struggling, it still got absorbed. After that, it was all black again. It got so cold, it was painful. I realized then I was getting eaten too. I fought, he said, omitting the part about panicking, but it kept consuming me. Just before it finished me, I woke up. Sai didn't say anything even after Naruto finished telling his dream. He brought his left hand to his chin, lowered his head for a moment, and said. The green light I can understand, given what you told us about this ring of yours. But the others I have no explanation for. It's unnerving, Naruto said, shivering a little. As Sakura-san said, the Hokage-sama will investigate as soon we return to Konoha, he continued. For now, it's probably best to concentrate on the mission. Makes sense, Naruto agreed. Just as Sai turned to leave, he added. Thanks. For what? I dunno, he shrugged. For just listening, I guess. At least it helped me relax. Sai turned around and smiled at Naruto. You're welcome. This is what comrades do, after all. Naruto nodded in reply. He noted that Sai's smile was becoming more genuine. The two headed back together in silence, not wanting to wake up Yamato or Sakura. Just before he reached the campsite, he glanced at the ring again and whispered one last thing he remembered about the dream. That green shark whalelet's name. Ion. By early afternoon of the next day, Team Kakashi had reached the coast. The southern border consisted of a tall, sheer cliff that fell into a thin strip of jagged rocks. The cliff itself extended for miles on end to both the north and south. Off in the distance, the team could spot another similar cliff jutting out of the ocean. Unlike the rock face in front of them, the sea mountain gleamed bright in the waning sunlight, a clear indication of its artificial origin. So that's the hidden steel, Naruto whispered, guessing the wall's relationship to the metal country. We're at the location the Anbu team first reported they lost their chakra, Yamato said, glancing out from the last strip of forest just before the cliff's edges. He quickly made some hand seals and tested one of his wood jutsus. Mokuton. At his command a small bush sprang up just in front of him. If the weapon exists, it must be off right now, Sakura concluded upon seeing Yamato's ninjutsu was still working. Then let's get inside and bust it up. Naruto exclaimed, punching his right fist into his left palm. First, please let me investigate for any enemies, Sai held him up. He quickly took out a scroll and brush, dipped the brush into the scroll's ink container, and painted a host of mice. Ninpo, Choju Giga. The ink mice rose from the paper and scurried out onto the cliff face. The rodents spread out, searching around the area for traps or other unpleasant surprises. Some even dove off the ledge to scan the sea. After a few silent and boring to Naruto minutes, Sai nodded. All clear. Finally. Let's go. Naruto said, promptly rushing out from the brush and out to the open. While the others walked out more calmly, he started stretching his arms and legs. What are you doing? Stretching, Naruto told Yamato. You want to swim all the way to the island? Sakura asked him incredulously. Why not? It'll be easy and stupid, that's what. Sakura interrupted. Not to mention tiring, obvious and horribly exposed. Sakura's right, Naruto, Captain Yamato said. But I have an idea. Crouching down, he grabbed a nearby pebble and drew a rough diagram of the bluffs, the country, and the water in between. Sai, I need you to do some air reconnaissance on the village. Use a bird native to this coast to reduce suspicion, he explained, drawing an arrow from their end of the coast over to the hidden steel diagram. Once we know the layout of the land, I'll use my jutsu to tunnel below the sea floor and into the metal, he finished, this time drawing an arrow that dug below their current location, below the ocean drawing, and into their destination. Sai did not hesitate and summoned an ink seagull, which quickly flew away to the metal wall jutting out from the middle of the ocean. Minutes passed, and even as the bird became a mere dot, the team could tell it still had some way to go to reach its destination. You were right, Sakura-chan, Naruto broke the silence, that would have been a heck of a swim. It should be reaching the barrier soon, Sai said. I should have some information sure. What's that? Yamato interrupted him. The Anbu pointed to the metal country, and he and the others saw what looked like a puff of white smoke coming out of the walled city. Soon, 2 more puffs emerged. Do you hear something? Sakura asked. A faint whistle began emanating from the distance. Naruto and the others were perplexed at first about the origin, but they slowly understood what was happening when the sound intensified and pitched higher. Watch out. Yamato ordered. A second after they jumped back, the ground they were standing on exploded, lifting rock and dust high and sending a wave of compressed air all around. Naruto and his team were nearly unable to land on their feet. Soon after, another explosion rocked the forest behind them, sending wood and leaves flying past them. Damn. They detected us already? Yamato cursed. No wonder they're called the Metal Country, Naruto scoffed, looking at the large crater left behind by the first blast. At the bottom lay a black, heavy metal ball the size of a human head. Watch out, something is approaching. Sai warned. Glancing up, the team saw what looked like a large metallic bird that left a great ominous shadow as it sped above the waters. The metal glider flew past them, but from it jumped dozens of people, each armed with what looked like metal pipes fitted with wooden rears. They quickly sprang out large parachutes that slowed their descent enough so Team Kakashi could react. Age Bunshin no Jutsu. Joju Giga. Oten, Doryuso. Where the team had expected to use their jutsus, they were met with nothing. Meanwhile, their attackers kept descending without opposition. What happened? Sakura yelled out. My chakra? I can't use chakra. Naruto shouted back. None of us can. Yamato said. The anti-chakra weapon does exist. We'll have to use Taijutsu only for 3 me. Sai, move. Sakura rushed and tackled the Anbu root the instant one of the soldiers above aimed his stick at Sai and pulled some sort of curved metal splinter. A bang rang out and a miniature version of the earlier cannonball dug deep into the ground where Sai had been standing an instant before. Soon, all the other soldiers aimed their weapons at the team and fired. The hail of metal bullets rained down on them. Take cover. Yamato ordered, and Naruto, Sai and Sakura quickly followed. They ducked behind a large boulder that protected them from the hidden steel's attacking forces. The shots continued at varying intervals, but their constant presence prevented Team Kakashi from moving. All of a sudden the firing stopped, and Naruto carefully peeked out to see scores of armored soldiers closing in on their location. Damn. He said. When the soldiers got close enough, they stopped but kept their muskets aimed high. One of the men, dressed in a more polished armor and wearing the country's insignia of a cast anvil, moved forward in front of the others. I am Lieutenant Kaisho of the hidden village of Steel. The head officer declared. You 4 are under arrest for espionage against the Metal Country. We are not spies. Yamato countered from behind the boulder. We are investigating reports of unusual activity within the Land of Fire's borders. Naruto wondered why Yamato was choosing to tell half of the truth of their mission. The captain interrupted his pondering when he signaled Naruto to take out his kunai. On his part, Yamato and Sakura took out some exploding tags from their pouches. Even if your story is true, we saw one of you summon a bird and have it head straight to our borders. The lieutenant countered. Surrender peacefully and you will not be harmed. You have no authority in the Land of Fire, Yamato shot back. Leave immediately. It's no use, then. Take them out. Immediately the full platoon resumed shooting at the rock. Slowly the bullets began to chip away at the stone. The instant the hail lessened enough, Yamato and Sakura threw their kunai at the soldiers. These landed in front of their attackers and a few seconds later exploded. Some soldiers fell unconscious, others merely staggered, but all of them stopped shooting momentarily. The team took the opportunity to launch out of their cover. Naruto and the others hid inside the smoke from the explosions and attacked as best they could. Limited only to Taijutsu, they were extra careful to take out as many soldiers as they could for good. The 4 aimed almost exclusively for the soldiers' unarmored faces and necks. They succeeded in taking out at least a dozen officers, but by the time the smoke cleared there were still many more standing. Fire at will. Kaisho ordered. At once his officers obeyed, spraying the area with a fatal rain. The Konoha ninjas had great difficulty avoiding them all. Naruto threw 2 shuriken at his closest attackers, which embedded themselves into their hands and caused them to drop their rifles. But before he could counter 5 other soldiers fired at him. He barely sidestepped in time to avoid their shots. Damn it. He cursed. While the soldiers turned to him and reloaded their guns, Naruto took a quick moment to see that Yamato, Sai and Sakura were faring no better than him. He saw a soldier take aim at Sakura's exposed back. Sakura-chan, behind. He didn't have the chance to finish as the familiar whistle came back. The soldiers immediately crouched and braced themselves, and the four ninjas turned towards the sea. Naruto suddenly realized he was standing in an exposed outcropping of rock only a few yards long and too thin for comfort. As the whistle grew into a higher-pitched whine, he rushed back onto solid ground. His effort was in vain, for just as he was reaching his goal, an extremely loud explosion right in front of him rocked his ears and sent him reeling. The ground beneath him crumbled to nothingness and cascaded down the side of the cliff, but the force of the blast sent Naruto flying farther off. By the time he had a chance to yell, he was falling helplessly towards the jagged coast below. Naruto! Sakura cried out, reaching out helplessly towards him. Yamato and Sai, so shocked that they forgot their current situation, rushed to join her at the edge of the bluffs and watched, horrified, as their friend fell to him doom. The metal soldiers took the advantage and immediately surrounded the surviving ninjas. The coastal air buffeted Naruto as the ground below grew inexorably larger. Desperate, he searched his pockets and bags, but he only had extra kunes, food rations, shurikens, and one exploding tag, nothing of which could help him. Age Bushin no Jutsu? He tried, but he still couldn't mold any chakra. As a final resort, he mentally yelled out for the Nine Tails to help him. The beast, to his defeat, was absolutely silent, apparently also suppressed by the hidden steel's anti-chakra weapon. He was out of options. It was then that it dawned on him. He was going to die. Regret filled him. There was so much he had still wanted to accomplish. He would never come to be acknowledged by the village, and he would never become Hokage. He had not been able to protect his comrades up above. He had especially let down Sakura. His promise to her to bring back Sasuke at all costs was now broken. And Sasuke would become Orochimaru's new body and never come back. Everyone. I'm so sorry. I failed. He whispered. He closed his eyes, sighed one last time, and resigned himself to fate. Uzumaki Naruto of the planet Earth. You must overcome this great fear. The sudden appearance of the mysterious voice jarred Naruto back from the brink. Below, the sea was closing fast, but he still had a few seconds to go. There was nothing else around him, and the voice certainly did not match that of the QBs. This one was calmer, but at the same time firmer. It reminded him of Sai in a way. He was certain none of his ninja tools could talk, so that only left one thing. Is that you, Ring? He asked hesitantly. Affirmative, the voice immediately responded. Naruto's next query was not so hesitant. Save me. Unable to comply, was the answer, in the same monotonous pitch as before. Then how am I supposed to overcome fear of death if you won't help me? Your willpower is the key. Positive response will occur when you will it to be. Naruto gasped when he understood what the ring meant. He finally realized why he had been unable to recreate its effect after saving Konohamaru. At that point, he was not focusing on making the ring do something for him. He had ordered himself to save Konohamaru despite the near impossibility of it at that moment. Every other time he had only tried to command the ring to respond. Is hope rising? Naruto quickly asked. And once I make it so? What can you do? The ring's answer was cryptic, but if taken literally, also amazing. Anything. Naruto would have asked for more details, but now the end of the fall was almost upon him. He closed his eyes again, but this time he resolutely clenched his fists and gathered his wits. If the ring could really do anything, it would be best to keep his command simple until he was safe. Like when he caught Konohamaru, he thought of only one thing. Stop. He whispered to himself. Remembering his training, he focused intently as if gathering chakra. Stop, he said again. He had no idea how he would accomplish it, but he ordered himself to obey regardless. Stop. He shouted. Not caring how close the sea was now, he wished it to be. He commanded it to be. Until at last every fiber of his being willed it to be. Opening his eyes, he yelled out one final time. Stop. The ring suddenly flared to life. The incoming sea, the cliffs, the far-off metal country, and everything else in sight disappeared in a brilliant emerald flash. Welcome to the Green Lantern Corps. Ready, men? Lieutenant Kaisho ordered. All soldiers pointed their muskets to Sai, Sakura and Yamato. Yamato immediately began performing some seals in the hope the barrier was off, but the lieutenant gave the command before he could finish. Fire. Dozens of thundering bangs rang out simultaneously. The Konoha ninjas braced themselves for the end. The bullet stopped in midair, crashing into a translucent green wall that had suddenly appeared around the three besieged ninjas. No projectile passed the wall, instead all fell harmlessly in front of the stupefied soldiers. What the? They wondered out loud. Yamato Taichu, did you? Sakura asked the Jounin, but she was preempted by a voice that rang out from seemingly everywhere at once. In brightest day and blackest night no evil shall escape my sight. Everyone looked around, trying to find the source of the voice. Sai, the first to find it, widened his eyes as he pointed up to the sky. Up there. Sakura and Yamato looked up to where Sai was signaling. Both gasped when they saw what he was referring to. Is that? Yamato began. Naruto. Sakura finished. Her teammate was floating in the sky, held up by nothing. He was surrounded by an emerald green aura, and his usual clothes had been replaced by a tight black and green jumpsuit with white gloves and boots that would easily fit in Midogai's wardrobe. On his chest, inside of a white circle, was a symbol that vaguely resembled a lamp. His eyes were covered by a green face mask, but Sakura could see that beneath, his blue pupils were now also shining green with some unknown power. The head protector with the sign of Konoha had been also altered to show the same lantern on his new suit. Finally, the ring on his finger glowed incredibly bright. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green lantern's light to Bayo. The darkness of the cave contrasted sharply with the afternoon exterior they'd just come from. He'd already performed the technique countless times for prior meetings, but there was always a brief moment of disorientation and adjustment to the lower light conditions. Soon his potent eyes attuned themselves, and he saw the other 7, or at least their silhouettes, gathered around a small torch that stood in the center of the circle he and the others formed. Along with his companion to his side, he completed the assembly of 9. You're late, Itachi, kiss him, one of the figures said. The voice was rasped and distorted due to the nature of the jutsu, but Uchiha Itachi had heard it enough to immediately recognize it. It belonged to the only other ninja who had eyes potentially more dangerous than his. Itachi's red Sharingan met the Akatsuki leader's gray Rinnegan. It couldn't be helped, Kisame excused himself and Itachi. We received your message during lunch at a small rest inn. Really? I thought you hunted live fish in ponds and oceans. Kisame almost popped a forehead artery. I swear, Haiden, that mouth of yours will get you killed by one of us someday. Another shadow, this one with pale pupil-less green eyes, told his partner. At least you know he means what he says, Kakuzu-san, yet another one said. I'm getting sick of hearing dumb, supposedly innocent comments from a certain someone, HN. But, Dodara-senpai, said the masked shade next to Dodara, I thought we were now a team, so I could help you out with my awesome skills and jutsus. See? Dodara sweat dropped. He means well, at least, Kisame snorted. Itachi still said nothing. He was certain the leader was aware, but not the others. If they did know what he and Pain knew about Toby, they would not be treating him like the clumsy newcomer he made himself out to be. Pain's partner Conan, whom Itachi also suspected knew the truth, was also quiet as usual, and she kept merely observing the exchange with only a passing interest. Equally silent was Zetsu. Not that he spoke often when not dealing with matters concerning the organization, but his usually calm demeanor, or rather demeanors given his dual personality, seemed slightly rattled, even unnerved. No doubt it was at his request that the leader had called this unexpected gathering. This meeting will now come to order, the leader said. Immediately the banter died out and every member's attention focused solely on Pain. Before Zetsu explains the reason for this emergency gathering, you will state your current situation. Kakuzu was the first to answer Pain's query. We have infiltrated the Lightning Country and are in silent pursuit of our target. The Nibi Jinchuriki will be captured in short order. Good. Dodara. We've confirmed the Sanbi is hostless, HN the long-haired blonde answered quickly. Finding it will be difficult, but once we do even Toby should have no trouble catching it, HN. You make it sound as if these Jinchuriki are pretty strong, Toby said. They can be if you are not prepared, Itachi finally spoke. There was no sense in arousing suspicion from the other members just yet, so he might as well play along with the masked one's game for now. Doesn't matter if it's a Jinchuriki or not, HN Dodara added. Sasori Dana learned that the hard way. Itachi, what of your target? Pain asked, going back to the meeting. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki remains heavily protected by his fellow villagers. Kisame and I are preparing to capture the Four Tails in the meantime. Yes, the QB, Zetsu slurred, finally breaking his silence. This brings us to why I requested this urgent meeting. Is it really that important that it had to interrupt 3 hunts? Kisame asked. He then glanced in the leader's direction. You said yourself that we must accelerate our plans in order to complete our objective as soon as possible. Yes, I did, Pain accepted. But from what Zetsu has told me, there may be a new, wholly unanticipated factor that may require significant modifications to our plans. So don't keep us in suspense further, Dodara growled, what's going on? Zetsu's less bestial side answered. The Metal Country has fallen. Dodara and Conan gasped lightly, while Kakuzu and Kisame scowled. Even Itachi had to blink hard at the news. Is that so bad? Toby asked. Itachi noted he was hiding his surprise very well. The last to react was Haiden, and his response was typical of his character. Bullshit. He cursed. Conan glared at the supposed immortal in return. You're suggesting I'm lying? Zetsu's angrier side retorted. Haiden continued his diatribe unabated. The metal country may not have any shinobi, but between that huge wall around their island, which is in the middle of the damned ocean I might add, and all those weird anti-ninja gadgets they're supposed to have, it would take at least 2 of us to that. More if you want to be sure to win quickly. Itachi could not believe what he was about to do. Despite Hayden's attitude, his assertions are somewhat accurate, he said, agreeing with the most hot-headed of the group. If the latest rumors about their research with chakra suppression devices are correct, it would require the hidden villages to send several Jounin and covert operation squads into a long siege to defeat the metal's forces. You would think that, Zetsu continued, and the country's arsenal was not exaggerated. But regardless, its whole army, weaponry and defenses fell in less than a day. Whichever country invaded must have poured everything it had, Kisame speculated. Not everything, Zetsu corrected. His black half almost grinned at the thought of dropping another bombshell. 1 Jounin, 2 Chunin, and 1 Genin. A single Konoha squad conquered the hidden steel. The shock in the chamber only lasted a few seconds, as it was soon broken by Hayden's bellowing cackle. Zetsu, whatever it is you're smoking, I want some, cause that must be some really good shit. I'm not done yet, Zetsu continued. Of the 4, the Genin was the one truly responsible. Before Hayden could further question Zetsu's sanity, Itachi cut him off with what he guessed was Zetsu's conclusion of his report. It was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, I take it. Did he lose control of the beast and let it run loose? Not quite. In brightest day and blackest night no evil shall escape my sight, let those who worship evil's might beware, my power Green Lantern's light to Bayo. The words came naturally despite Naruto never having spoken them before. But the meaning of them, and the oath they created, resonated within him deeply, as if this solemn promise were his own. The hidden steel soldiers below him, however, did not give him the chance to ponder any further. Ignoring the equally amazed Sakura, Yamato, and Sai, all of them aimed their guns at Naruto and fired repeatedly. His chakra still hadn't returned, but unlike a few minutes ago, Naruto simply smiled. His power ring, as he somehow knew it was called, made a perfect substitute. Now that he knew how to use it, Naruto intensified the aura around him and let the bullet strike. The solid green light repelled every single shot effortlessly. It hasn't been 10 minutes yet. Lieutenant Kaisho said to one of his charges. Why isn't the energy nullifier working? It is. The younger officer answered. He must be channeling some other sort of power. You're right, I am. Kaisho turned around and jumped back when he saw that the Konoha ninja, who was now wearing a tight green and black uniform, was literally floating right behind him. It's called guts. Kaisho and his officer drew their muskets and aimed at their new enemy at point-blank range. The instant they were about to pull the trigger, 2 human-sized green toads materialized from Naruto's ring and stomped the 2 soldiers to the ground. He landed in front of the incapacitated enemies and was about to gloat when more bullets hit him from behind. He jumped a bit from the surprise, but thankfully his barrier prevented any damage. Naruto turned around to find about 24 infantrymen firing at him. I always wanted to try this, he grinned. Naruto brought his fist up and summoned a giant paper fan, which he then slammed down in front of him. The fan rocked the air and sent a powerful gale that blasted his attackers away. The wind was so strong that it tore the soldiers' armor and ripped their rifles apart. Eat your heart out, Tamari. Don't move, you're surrounded. He suddenly heard. Glancing around he saw the remaining soldiers encircled him. So, you want to play, huh? Naruto said. He unsummoned the fan and stood up straight. Hands up. They ordered. Alright, I'll play. Naruto obeyed his opponent's command and raised his arms up. He allowed them a moment to approach slowly, but then he conjured a large bubble around him. The soldiers immediately fired, but once again their musket shots were unable to pierce the power ring's construct. Haha, now for the KO. Midori Harem no Jutsu. Thin strips of light shot out from the shield, one for each soldier around Naruto. Each beam expanded upon reaching their targets and grew into beautiful, voluptuous, and completely naked women that immediately began seductively taunting and caressing the officers. They, in turn, dropped their guns and stood stunned with massive nosebleeds. For once, Naruto was grateful that this time it was the constructs and not him or his shadow clones doing the deeds. Now defenseless, the soldiers could not anticipate Naruto's next move to make the Naruto constructs knee everyone in their privates and then uppercut them. Every enemy was unconscious by the time they fell back to the ground. You guys alright? He asked his teammates while banishing the Narukos and the bubble. Sai, Sakura and Yamato approached him. The 3 of them just nodded in reply. Naruto. Don't worry, Sakura-chan, he answered, taking off the face mask to reveal his full face and restored blue eyes. It's me. How did? It's this ring, he told Captain Yamato. Naruto held out his hand palm down to show them his new tool. It's called a power ring, and it's the weapon of the Green Lantern Corps. How do you know all this? Sai asked him. And what is this Green Lantern Corps? Beats me, Naruto shrugged. I think the ring's been teaching me things without me knowing. For now it's just words and terms, really. I still don't know where it came from or what these core are. What do you know about it? Sakura asked. It could be dangerous. Nah, it's okay. It chose me to be a Green Lantern because I've got great willpower, Naruto beamed proudly. It talked to me and told me it could do anything I wanted it to do. To prove his point, he created a copy of himself, which then morphed randomly into other comrades, ninja tools, and miniature buildings. His demonstration was interrupted when the ominous whistle came back. I hope it can stop the metal's arsenal, Sakura warned warily. She, Sai and Yamato braced themselves and crouched, ready to jump away at a moment's notice. Piece of cake, Naruto snickered. At once the shifting construct grew immensely and split into a whole single line of elastic nets and a large funnel at the end just above Team Kakashi. When the cannonballs hit, the first batch of nets were obliterated, but each one slowed the projectiles. The last few held strong and directed the cannonballs into the funnel. Once inside, the tube itself split into 3 giant replicas of the hidden steel soldiers, one for each cannon fire the funnel caught. Alright, men, Naruto said, mimicking Lieutenant Kaisho's voice, we have sighted the enemy. They're a band of thick-headed warmongers who won't listen to reason. Aim for their big guns and take them out. Fire. The constructs obeyed, and soon 3 deafening bangs rang out across the cliff. A few seconds later, the cannonballs blasted into the thick walls of the hidden steel and obliterated the cannons which only moments before had shot at Team Kakashi. As the soldier replicas dissipated, Sakura, Sai and Yamato marveled at the ring's abilities. On his part, Naruto could not help but smile. See, that's a very powerful weapon, Yamato agreed. We're lucky it's also immune to the hidden steel's anti-chakra device. We should head back to Konoha and report to Hokage-sama now that we've confirmed the existence of the weapon, Sai recommended. Are you kidding? Naruto scoffed. I said I was gonna bust it up and that's what I intend to do. It'll be really easy now. He continued, flaunting the green ring. Sai's right, Naruto, Yamato countered. Our mission was to investigate the metal and ascertain if the chakra suppression device existed. That's been confirmed, so it is up to her to decide what to do next. But we may not have time for that. Naruto shot back. When the Anbu found it, it stopped their chakra for 3 minutes, right? Now it's been, what, 7, 8 minutes? We still can't use chakra. In just a few days the weapon's gotten stronger, and if we wait more soon it'll be able to work forever. It took him a moment to notice that neither Yamato nor Sai had a counter-argument to what he had just said. Naruto's right, Sakura said, nodding at her friend. If we followed Tsunade-sama's orders literally, she said to find out a way to counter the weapon. She then cracked her knuckles and gave one of those looks that usually scared Naruto stiff. I think Naruto just stumbled onto the perfect counter. Wouldn't you agree, Lantern-san? She finished, giving him a mischievous grin that he quickly returned. Very well, Yamato conceded. But only as far as destroying the weapon, after that we return to Konoha. First, how do you plan to enter the hidden steel? Sai asked the group. I know just how to get there, Naruto answered. Freedom. There were other words to describe their current situation, too, such as soaring, laughing, rushing, or flying. But none quite caught the sheer emotion of defying gravity and moving across the sky by just wanting it. Since leaping off the cliff and heading for the metal country, Naruto allowed himself to enjoy this new power from the ring to its fullest. Instead of just flying straight in, he zigzagged through the jagged rock face at the bottom of the drop, then coursed just above the seawater fast enough to leave wakes in his trail. After a while he arsed and jutted straight up, spooking a flock of seagulls in the process. He crossed right through the afternoon clouds and marveled at the clear, reddening heavens. This is awesome. Naruto yelled out to the firmament. More than just splendid, it was an absolute bliss. And strangely enough, Yamato encouraged this behavior. He'd said it would make certain that the hidden steel forces would see Naruto's new Green Lantern powers and demoralize them further. But since Naruto had also made the ring give the rest of the team a flight aura, he knew that the captain was also having a blast with flying solo. Equally mesmerized was Sakura, who was not content with just following Naruto's antics and was instead performing her own maneuvers dancing among the clouds. We are nearing the perimeter of the country, Sai notified. He was the only one who seemed unfazed about flying, probably because he had his ink birds to allow him that, Naruto thought. Playtime's over. Regroup and prepare to begin infiltration mission, Yamato ordered. At once the rest of the team obeyed, gathered together, and dove down. At close range, the arched wall that surrounded the metal country was much larger than any of the four had thought at first. Immediately a thundering chorus blared out of the walls, and Team Kakashi was bombarded with gunfire. Incoming. The four continued their dive while maneuvering through the deadly torrent. As they closed in on the wall, the concentration of ammunition was too dense to avoid, which forced Naruto to create a large shield behind which the four could hide. You have to take out those guns, Naruto. Yamato yelled, trying to be heard over the constant barrage. Look. Sakura pointed to the inside of the wall where the actual city could now be seen. Above, at the barrier's top, thick metal plates began to slide out of the cordon itself to seal the hidden steel. Forget the guns, we have to rush in. Suddenly the ring's shield broke apart when a cannonball struck it. Naruto had not expected to receive such a heavy impact, and so his defense was not as solid as before. Though the projectile was destroyed in the process as well, it did the job of stunning him long enough to lose concentration, dispel the shield and remove everyone's flight aura. Naruto recovered quickly enough to re-establish his own power, but Sakura, Sai and Yamato plummeted to the ocean below. Worse, the metal resumed shooting at them. No. Enveloped in sudden rage, Naruto threw his fist forward towards the metal country's barrier and poured a single thought into the power ring. Destroy. The ring's response was immediate and unstoppable. A single beam of light shot out, which then exploded into a hail of lasers that struck every armament hidden within the walls with uncanny precision. Higher, smoke and debris burst out forcefully from within every orifice, as fully half of the hidden steel's defenses were decimated instantly. Satisfied, Naruto dove to catch his teammates, but was relieved when he saw Sai had conjured his own jutsu and summoned an Inkhawk to catch the three. "We're fine, Naruto," Sakura called out to him. "Our chakra's back. It will only be a matter of time before they reactivate the weapon," Sai commented. "We have to strike now." "Leave that to me," Naruto growled. He was no longer in the mood for playing. By now the city had been fully sealed by the rotating ceiling, but the new Green Lantern was undeterred. He poured his willpower into the ring and created a massive windmill shuriken that he then tossed at the top of the wall. The spinning blade sliced through the uppermost part of the wall, which slid off the rest and collapsed into the ocean. "I'm not done yet." Naruto then transformed a shuriken into a kunai that cut the barrier from top to bottom. The kunai then split into two giant hands that ripped it open, leaving the true hidden steel village hidden no more. Naruto, Sakura whispered, staring awestruck at what the Green Lantern power ring was capable of. "I'm going on ahead to destroy the weapon," Naruto said. "Wait, Naruto." Before Yamato was finished, the only thing that remained from the young genin was a green trail of light leading straight into the heart of the metal country. Like the land's namesake, the interior of the hidden steel was a mass of metallic buildings in a sea of concrete, asphalt and bare earth. Scattered around the man-made dwellings were small pockets of more arable soil, the only source of agriculture for the small nation. In sharp contrast to the organized resistance outside, the internal defenses of the hidden steel were chaotic. Officers and infantrymen wandered aimlessly between running away, ushering panicked civilians to safety shelters, and retaliating against the new enemy's incursion. Their efforts were limited to random gunfire and vain commands to desist. If they had any more potent weapons available against the Green Lantern, they chose to not use them at all, unwilling to risk harming the non-combatants. Naruto took no heed to any of these points and rather flew on straight into the heart of the metal. "I just need to find that anti-chakra device," Naruto said to himself. He was not too surprised when a full image of the country appeared just above the surface of the ring. Examining it, he found that there were a number of underground chambers within the island. One of these rooms had a glowing pulsing circle, no doubt a beacon used by the power ring to represent the location of the weapon. Above it in the graph was the Green Lantern symbol, showing Naruto his coordinates in relation to the rest of the village. "There you are," he said. He dismissed the map and created a large drill, then dove straight down. The few soldiers still firing at him and the street crossing below rushed away just as the light borer dug deep into the earth, sending rock, gravel, and dirt flying everywhere. The sudden blaring of warning klaxons was Naruto's first indication he had breached the weapon chamber. Most of the people were not armed and instead wore coats more reminiscent of medical staff. But what these people were holding and their surroundings indicated the facility was definitely not any hospital or recovery center. Just in front of Naruto, connected to numerous other devices scattered throughout the room, lay a large spherical machine with dozens of knobs, wheels and maintenance consoles. "So this is it. Stop him." To Naruto's right, a big gateway opened slowly to reveal a small platoon of soldiers that rushed towards him. They were carrying sleeker versions of the muskets he'd seen before. "No. Don't shoot inside the chamber," one of the technicians yelled. The soldiers paid him no heed and shot Naruto, who defended himself by raising another shield. As before, the bullets did not damage him or his construct, but the ricochet struck the weapon repeatedly, severing cables, damaging consoles, and causing breaches in the round body of the device. The warning klaxons intensified, and a sickly brown steam spilled out of the damaged weapon. "What's happening?" Naruto asked the same scientist. When he hesitated in answering, the lantern added. "Okay, so I'm the enemy here, but I'm not here to hurt you, just this thing. It's overloading," the technician answered. "It's going to explode." "How bad?" he asked back, keeping half a mind to extend the shield to protect the weapon to prevent more damage. "Very," was the only answer. "Figures," Naruto said. In one motion, he tossed the shield at his attackers, knocking them back long enough for him to then cover the whole weapon in a green bubble. When it was completely sealed inside, he flew up through the same hole he had entered the chamber from, dragging the smoking device behind him. An unnatural shrill began emanating from the damaged weapon. Naruto glanced down and saw that the metal bulkhead was starting to glow from the internal heat. Gotta hurry. He flew faster and faster, not stopping after exiting out into the open. When he finally did, he forced a bubble in the rapidly deteriorating sphere inside it ever farther up the sky until all he saw was the beam from the ring. It was then that the afternoon sky suddenly erupted in light, as if a second sun was shining down during noon. Soon after, a roaring, deafening shockwave shook Naruto and the rest of the country. Naruto lost his concentration from the blast, causing him to lose control over the Green Lantern ring and plummet down. Instead of landing on hard concrete, he collapsed onto the soft back of Sai's Inkhawk. "Got you?" Yamato cheered. Sakura immediately placed her arm around Naruto's back and held him up while her other hand checked his head and chest. "He's fine," she told the others. Looking back at her teammate, she asked him. "How do you feel?" Naruto gave her a thumbs up, smiled, and said. "Mission accomplished." The country surrendered to Team Kakashi soon after that, Zetsu finished. Unlike at first, none of the other members interrupted his report of the events. Ikuzu was the first to react. "Tell us more about this ring." "There is not much else to add," Zetsu answered. "At first, like the metal, I thought it was a new weapon Konoha had developed. But from the Konohanins' conversation, I can say that they were as perplexed about its nature as their opponents were. It appears this ring is sentient to a certain extent and it was the ring itself that chose to bond with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Because he has guts. Give me a break." Haiden scowled. "It is not merely guts, as you say," Itachi interrupted. "From my observations, Uzumaki Naruto is a steadfast, if unpredictable, individual that does not compromise his lofty ideals, however utopian they might be, and will not hesitate to fight against any odds for those beliefs. Perhaps it is these qualities this power ring seeks in its bearers." "Deidara, you've also encountered the Kyuubi in the past," the leader said. "Do you agree with Itachi's assessment?" "Yeah," Deidara answered. Itachi noted that he gripped one of his restored arms tightly. "He may be a hot-headed brat, but his determination is unquestionable, HN. So now one of our targets has a weapon that allows him to do anything he wants by just thinking about it," Kisame said, crossing his arms. "Having cold feet?" Toby taunted playfully. "Toby?" Kisame growled. Sorry, Toby's a good boy." He recanted. "Interesting acting," Itachi thought to himself. "I just meant that the Nine Tails is still your target, right?" "Itachi, Kisame, I want you to postpone your search for the Four Tails for now," Pain ordered the two. "You will instead head back to the Leaf and learn as much as you can about this so-called Green Lantern. Do not engage him unless you have acquired enough information to succeed in the capture. Report back with any results." "Agreed," Itachi said. "Remember, your primary objective for now is intelligence," Pain added. "If Uzumaki Naruto was able to take down an entire country by himself as a Green Lantern, we must proceed carefully in order to properly secure him." To the others he said. "For now, the rest of you will continue with your current assignments, but be ready to be called again at any moment." "So many damn gatherings," Haiden complained. "What are you mumbling about, HN?" Deidara castigated him. "At least you joined by choice," he added, giving Itachi a quick hateful glance. "This meeting is adjourned." With that, the 9 images of the Akatsuki flickered and disappeared, and the single torch died out when the last one was gone, leaving the small cave consumed by darkness. "You seem troubled," Kisame told his partner. It was a few minutes after they had returned to their bodies from the meeting and had set off for Konoha. It was already night and they were on their way to find a place to rest for the evening. During that time Itachi had said nothing. "Not at all," Itachi lied. If you say so," Kisame shrugged. Itachi knew Kisame well enough to know he didn't believe him, but also that he wouldn't press for more information. "This clearing looks good enough. I'll be right back." "Where are you going?" "Men's room." Kisame turned and disappeared into the jungle, leaving Itachi to his thoughts. Kisame was not all wrong. Itachi was not troubled, but rather concerned. This Green Lantern ring had given a Konoha ninja, their Jinchuriki no less, access to what appeared to be formidable powers that in certain aspects surpassed those of even the Kages. To release any kind of jutsu with a mere thought was something that even he was not fully capable of. Still, that Uzumaki Naruto became the power ring's owner was not the main problem. Instead, it was Akatsuki. Itachi knew that the rest of the group was just as concerned about the Green Lantern as he was, perhaps more so since unlike him, their true goal included Naruto's capture. To him that objective was a means to an end, an assurance from Pain and Toby that Konoha would remain safe from their machinations. But Uzumaki's new Green Lantern abilities were a wild card that the Akatsuki leadership would not tolerate, or worse, would seek to make their own. What he did not suspect the others even remotely considered was that these new powers were a real threat to them. After Sasori's death at the hands of one of Uzumaki Naruto's teammates, no less, it was evident that Akatsuki was not the invincible organization it made itself out to be, and that under the right circumstances, even less experienced ninjas could overcome the odds. If the Jinchuriki mastered these new powers, there was no telling what he might accomplish against Akatsuki. He would comply with the leader's orders for now, but he would have to amend his own plans soon. "Show yourselves," he said out loud. 3 men emerged from behind a group of trees a few yards away. From their modest clothing and workshop tools passing for weapons, Itachi concluded that these were villagers from the town where he and Kisame had eaten before. One was middle-aged, the other 2 younger, and all were quaking in their boots. They were no threat to him. "Explain your presence here." "I knew I recognized those eyes," the eldest man said, referring to Itachi's Sharingan. To his credit his voice did not waver, unlike his arms. "You are Uchiha Itachi." "I am," he replied. "We know about you. We can't let you threaten our village," one of the younger ones said. Unlike his senior, this one sounded afraid. "What you allow or not does not concern me," Itachi answered. "Besides, you are no threat to me." "We know," their leader said, taking a step forward. "And yet here you are." Itachi smiled for a second under his cloak, though none of the 3 could see past the large neck cover of his Akatsuki robes. Interesting coincidence that these 3 appeared just as he was thinking of Uzumaki Naruto. He wondered if optimism was becoming contagious. That would be new in the war-torn world they all lived in. "It's not often that I see those that face fear. For that, I will say that we do not intend to threaten your village. But it would be annoying if others found out of my presence here. If you forget you saw me, I may spare you." The 2 younger men exchanged doubtful glances, but the older man stood still. Itachi narrowed his eyes. "The line between bravery and stupidity is very thin," he said. "And you are still afraid. But you don't know true fear." His vision focused as his Sharingan activated. By the time the men stiffened, they were already in his Genjutsu. But when Itachi spoke, the emanating voice was not his own. "No fear." A faint light caught Itachi's attention. He glanced to his side and saw a dancing amber glow. "And what do we have here?" Another voice interrupted some time later. Kisame came back just in time to see the 3 men pass out from Itachi's illusion. Itachi kept his back to them and to Kisame. "Would-be heroes from the nearby town," Itachi said. "Nothing to bother yourself with." Kisame approached one of them and gave him a weak kick in the ribs. "You didn't kill them. No need to. They couldn't have come here of their own accord," Kisame said, unsheathing Samehada as he did so. "Let them be, Kisame. They've learned their lesson." At this, Kisame glanced back at Itachi with incredulity. "Since when did you become merciful?" "They've seen what I am capable of," Itachi said. "Once they inform the others, fear will keep them from pestering us further. If you want fear, we can kill them and mutilate their corpses. That'll really scare the rest. That would bring unnecessary attention to our presence and to Akatsuki," Itachi countered. "Don't worry," Kisame waved him off. "I won't leave too much evidence. I'll even make it quick and painless if it makes you feel better," he finished with a laugh. Kisame turned his back to his partner and then raised his heavy sword over his head with just one hand. "Kisame, for what it's worth, I'm sorry," Itachi solemnly said. "Sorry for WH." Kisame did not have time to finish. Just as he turned towards Itachi, a brilliant golden light slammed into him with enough force to send him flying. Pain coursed through every inch of his body as the blast enveloped him. Despite his massive strength, Kisame was completely overwhelmed by the power of whatever had struck him. He landed hard on the ground far beyond the cowering villagers, but the light continued to pummel him until he ended up sprawled against the very earth he heaved up by the sheer impact. To his side lay Samehada, its covers ripped to shreds and with many of its scales also broken off by whatever had broken him too. The last thing he saw was Itachi towering over him with a bright amber glow emanating from his middle finger right next to his Akatsuki ring and his normally red Sharingan now shining yellow. Just as the darkness took him, Kisame heard a stoic voice speak out. "The Uchiha Itachi of Sector 2814. You have the ability to instill great fear." "Indeed," Itachi agreed, sporting an uncharacteristic grin, "indeed I do. Welcome to the Sinestro Corps." So that's it for today guys, I hope did you enjoyed this video. If you do please leave a like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.